Hello and welcome back to those of you who have already joined in the morning, and a very warm welcome to everybody who is joining in the afternoon to CogX, FinTech and Financial Services stage, full of insights this afternoon, a really wonderful lineup of sessions. Now, if you haven't been here already in the morning, my name is Olga Miler. I'm an innovation architect in financial services and the MC for the stage for today. We are going to look at the next session. Is innovation and disruption within the insurance industry possible? Well, a very broad question to be debated, and I am very curious what the answers will be. This session will be moderated by Bola Adegbulu, entrepreneur in residence at Cisco and venture partner at Ada Ventures. Now, before we dive in, just note that you can ask any question through the live chat and make it as useful, as interactive as it can be. Bola, over to you.
Thank you, Olga. I'd like to introduce Christopher Oster, co-founder and CEO at Clark. And I'd like to introduce Parul Green, board member at UK Insurtech and Tech Nation. Cool. Great to meet you all, Christopher and Parul. Perhaps we start with a quick introduction on yourselves and then a bit about the companies that you work for. Christopher?
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me today. My name is Christopher. I'm founder and CEO of Clark. Used to work in the internet industry for quite a while now. I joined it in 2011, actually. And before that, worked in consulting and mostly in financial services, actually, since 2005. And Clark, the company I founded in 2015, is an insurance broker. So we are an intermediary and we are selling insurance. We're not underwriting ourselves. And we have built a technology that helps consumers get insured. We think it's a big pain point. It's very difficult today for especially digital natives to find the right access to insurance products. The existing channels simply don't work anymore. And we've built a solution where you can check existing contracts. We propose new contracts for our customers. You can file claims. It's meant to be a go-to place where you can solve any insurance matter as a consumer. And in the 6 years of our existence, we have now roughly 400,000 customers and almost 2 million insurance contracts on our platform that is operating in Germany and Austria.
Great, thank you for that. Parul Green, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely, Bola. Thank you for having me here. I'm Parul Green. I'm a technologist and strategist and an investor in financial services and health technologies. And for the past 2 decades, I have been developing and spearheading digital transformation in financial services. I have a deep passion for ethical and inclusive technology, especially when it comes to healthcare and financial services. I'm a board member at the UK Insurtech board, which is the HMRC's board to promote insurance technologies in the UK insurance industry, where I advise on policy matters and also mentor startups for Mayor of London, for the British royal family. I also contributed to the AI book, so I blog and write about technology, AI, and ethics quite prolifically.
Thank you for that. So we have a very interesting set of perspectives across startup and corporate. So we'll start in with one of the first questions. What are the changes in demand from insurance customers due to the COVID-19 pandemic? I'll start with you, Parul.
So in the insurance industry, we've experienced more change in the past 10 months than we have done in 10 years. And it's especially true when it comes to digital transformation of customer experiences, be it at the time of purchase of policies, advise on right kind of covers, what is the best value for money for the kind of risks that they are trying to cover. And also when they want to have bought the policies and they want to query whether they are covered on a certain risk or not. And also, of course, the claims journey, which is the moment of truth. The customers are increasingly asking for a seamless interaction between phone, web, mobile apps. And this is because of this is because of self-isolation, and also the fact that people can't come in person to speak to their agents. So there has been a huge amount of digitization. We also see a great deal of use of chatbots in customer journeys to answer routine queries, also use of predictive analytics and personalization. In my mind, the key is to deliver great personal experiences at every touch point. And that's been something that insurance industry has done a great deal of work during this pandemic in.
Thank you, Parul. Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, as broker, we work extremely close with the customer. And, when the pandemic started, we had a few, I would say, effects and events that you would almost consider anecdotal today. It's like at the beginning, for example, in the first few months of the pandemic, suddenly everyone bought travel insurance. And then that was like the starting point, of course, super short term, but like at the beginning, everyone bought travel insurance. And then only to realize after a few days and weeks that actually you can't travel anymore. And then everyone, of course, stopped booking travel, and travel insurance wasn't sold anymore at all. And I think, of course, this stuff is normalizing, right? There was also another wave, I would say, where everyone was sort of checking the health insurance, like what's actually covered, what not, like do I have like if something goes really bad, like am I well protected and is everything going right? So we had many people that suddenly asked more intense questions about the health insurance than they did before. But overall, we don't see, let's say, really long-term changes in the way people assess risks in their life, right? That's in the end what's driving the demand. If you are now more scared or like more willing to cover every single aspect of your life with insurance products, and you see completely changed demand, and that's not really happening. So we see sort of buying behavior going back to normal. What's great for us, and Parul also alluded to this already, we're a digital broker, right? So I remember that a year ago or 2 years ago, let's actually say 2 years ago, when I told people that we also sell a lot of more complex products like health insurance or life insurance over the phone, people told me, look, Christopher, this will not work because those products are sold in a face-to-face conversation. And that obviously in the last 12 months has silenced down. So there's a much higher acceptance for digital consultation over the phone, video conferencing and stuff like that. Also for the more complex questions, which is definitely driving digitization. So that's definitely a change that I guess will stay.
Absolutely. So I think on the digitalization topic, I think it really leads to that. I mean, what do you think? How will the insurance experience, particularly in Europe, change due to digitalization? Parul?
Okay, so I'll break it down to the two sectors that I have experienced most closely. In health insurance, and this is something Christopher also mentioned about, health insurance is quite complex and people believe that it should be done in face-to-face. Again, there has been a change in how customers are consuming health insurance. There is a huge focus now on services around health insurance. Customers are not just saying that, okay, I'm ill, cover my expense. They're saying, what else can you do for me? So herein we have telehealth services. Most of the large insurers today have signed up with telehealth providers. We at AXA have signed up with Doctor Care Anywhere in UK. There are others who are signed up with providers in Germany. We are signed up with another local provider of health services. There is also a great deal of focus because of this health crisis on how expensive the health administration is. So we see a huge amount of digitalization of administration and clinical journeys. We have chronic disease management portals developing, wherein if you're sitting at home and you want to manage your diabetic condition, it gives you an app which can take your blood sugar level, connect to your general practitioner and give statistics about your health to them. So there's electronic medical records systems are also being integrated into the health insurer journey and into the provider journey. And there's also increasingly ecosystem building around people who are provisioning health. We're not working in silos anymore. We are working as health insurance will pay your claim, the provider will manage your condition. You sitting at home are also involved in this. This is a patient empowerment journey whereby you can look after your condition as you sit at home. So there has been a huge amount of emphasis here where we look at health insurance. In broader context of commercial insurance, which is another area that I'm working on and familiar with, where we manage large and complex risks of large enterprises like their properties. We also have started seeing digitalization through satellite imagery being captured at a site of a disaster. So if, for example, when the Beirut blast happened, it was very, very hard to go to those sites because it was super dangerous. So what we saw was that satellite imageries were being captured, assessment of claims was being done, and connected back into the systems of insurer to give live information on what's happening. And this is especially important as we see climate change happening and we see disasters exacerbating, including those of companies, that we have this, within European Union and outside as well, a greater focus on how do we connect various providers or various people in the value chain so that they have the right kind of information to mitigate these losses and make good some of these losses. So it's been hugely accelerating to the entire insurance industry as I have experienced within Europe.
Thank you so much for that, Parul. Christopher, perhaps you can shed some light on that question.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you said the insurance experience, I was, of course, firstly thinking about the consumer and the customer in general. And here we see, 2/3 are still unhappy. They're still dissatisfied with the insurance experience today. Why is that? Not because the, let's say, carriers are not doing a good job in the experience management with the consumer. I guess it's because the bar is raised. Yeah, like all other industries have digitized, and all other industries are providing services that are much more integrated, much more personalized. So I think it's about catching up in insurance. That still needs to happen. There's lots of effort and lots of investment happening in this space, so that's great. But still, it's a catch-up effect. And I think the biggest ones for the consumer will be around access, right? Like in the past, it was for the consumer the choice between going to a brick and mortar store or going to a price comparison website. Like these were the two places where you would buy insurance. So there needs to be much more than that, and like much more variety of access channels to the insurance product. I think that's happening and possible with digitization. And it's going to be much more customer orientation. Like consumers will take extremely well-informed decisions. In the past, it was a complete trust product, right? You went to your agent and whatever he said, you couldn't check and you didn't know whether it was right or wrong. And now you inform yourself. So there's a research, online purchase, offline process. You know a lot about the products when you come. You ask good questions. So it's a completely different type of consultation actually happening. And the third thing for me, beside the access and the customer orientation, is the role of data. And how personalized experience can be created. So it's I'm talking about the entire journey about how to make individual recommendations, how to make even individual contracts and individual underwritings for the customer, how to tailor communication, how to tailor the entire process in the end for the customer. I guess there's a lot of opportunity as well.
Thank you for that. And then Christopher, I mean, specifically to you, how do you think the insurance broker business will change or scale through the use of technology?
Yeah, like here I see many use cases for artificial intelligence actually, and like typically when you speak about artificial intelligence, people always look at the underwriting space and or the claims space, for example. That's like the classic, or the customer support, right? Like that's typically where people argue with artificial in insurance. And I think there is much more than that, especially in the consultation and the distribution phase. So I think many people don't see the opportunities there, and it actually starts with like matching customers and agents, for example, right? Today, this is happening regionally. So if you're a customer and you go to the website of a carrier and you like, want to be consulted by someone about a certain product, you would probably end up with the person that is regionally closest to you. And that may not make any sense at all, right? It may make sense to connect you with the person that is best fitted to your needs. If, let's say, we know about you that you're a young customer living in city center and you feel like nothing can happen to you, you should have a different type of consultant than, let's say, the mid-aged German living in the countryside who wants to see trust seals and who wants to have someone who's an absolute expert in his field. So I think you really need to, like, that's where it can actually start, right? It's a very specific use case, but it's just showing, you know, how well AI could do to actually match the customer with the perfect agent. And like, think about the amounts, right? It's millions of consumers and thousands of agents. If you find an algorithm that perfectly matches those and optimizes for conversion, you actually have something really powerful. And then you can tailor, again, with the use of AI and data, much more. Like, you can tailor the entire communication. You can say, look, I know that young people react better to push notifications than to emails, or to, let's say, let's try SMS. Let's put SMS back on the agenda. And you can put all of this into you know, a testing and see what communication channels work best, what language, more formal, less formal. There's lots of optimization opportunity there. And like, as a last thing, just to show a bit of potential in the consultation and distribution, you could also optimize offers, for example. So you could say, and like, take price comparison again. And let's say at Clark, it's similar. You fill a few questions, like, do you have a family? Do you have kids? What do you want to cover precisely? And then you get 3 options that you choose from. And you could tailor those options depending, like, much more on the profile, and have an algorithm selecting those options. You could say, okay, I have here a customer that will probably more look after budget solutions. So let's get him 2 budget solutions in the mix and 1 quality contract, for example. And when then, you know, a different customer comes with the same socio-demographics, but still a different AI-based profile, you could make a completely different choice. And then, you know, the system could optimize based for conversion, or optimize for conversion based on the information it has. So I see there are lots of opportunity.
Thank you so much for that, Christopher. And Parul, perhaps you can share your perspective on how the insurer broker experience will scale and change through technology.
So insurance broker, of course, Christopher is an expert, but we deal with brokers in the commercial insurance space. What we are seeing is there is a huge amount of emphasis on digital placements. In olden days, or not even in very recent times, you used to have brokers moving from one insurer to another insurer to place a large risk. Say, for example, you were a global multinational and you wanted to buy a property cover for 30 countries that you're in. The broker would place it by speaking to insurers, actually carrying a little briefcase and walking around with it. Now there is an increase. People are saying this should be done digitally. If we can trade securities across the market through high frequency trading and place equity or debt placements of large companies within a digital architecture, why is insurance not doing the same? So there is increasing push within the placement to digitize those journeys. Additionally, there is a lot of information that is today available through non-conventional alternate data sets. You have data sets which provide you information on where disasters are happening. There are data sets which provide you information on where your ship is going in marine insurance, and data sets which can also give you information on global supply chains. What could be a potential disaster coming? All this information can help broker and the insurers give right kind of risk advice to the customer, who basically, if the customer's main job is to build widgets somewhere, why should he be also bothering about how to manage his risk? That is an insurer's job and the advisor's job. And increasingly, we see AI being deployed for risk advisory and place and through help in the digital placement as well. So that's those are some of the really pertinent cases within commercial insurance. Health insurance, again, as Christopher mentioned, that people are asking for personalization. If you're going to write a health cover for me, see, these are my underlying conditions. Don't ask me multiple questions. Give me the right kind of cover. So there is a great deal of augmentation of a really clever broker that happens through AI. So I do believe a good broker with the human touch cannot absolutely be replaced, because they add reasoning which is more than just a linear logic. They can ask, correlate to other specific instances and give a much richer answer. But what AI can do is augment the broker by giving them all other information that could make the decision making or the advice that they provide to customer richer and more accurate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think we've been kind of all through the question, and we've been really touching on data and on AI. So I guess that leads me to the next question. What are the interesting non-conventional use cases of AI within insurance today? Christopher, do you want to share your perspective on this?
Yeah, and I guess here's is a bit of the things that I'd mentioned in the last part already. There's a lot in the distribution space that I really would like to see, and lots of things that we've started adopting already. So you sometimes don't even need to go all the way to AI, right? You can work with rule-based systems too, and you can optimize and test your way into the customer journey with a great rule-based system and say, look, let's test some predefined path basically and see what the customer is responding to and where the big opportunities in the end sit. And I think the juice is really in the offer selection. I think that's where, let's say, at least from a broker perspective, you can really add value. Like at the moment, if you look at the offline world, you have an insurance broker, and let's say he has typically 3, 4, 5 carriers working with him. So if you come as customer to a broker, even if he wants to do the best possible job, he's only choosing from a limited set of carriers because the offering is so overwhelming. Like you have in Germany 550 carriers, they have thousands of contracts and tariffs out there. So even if you want to act in the best interest of the customer, how possibly could you find the best product without the use of artificial intelligence or data, at least? So I think out there really matching customer with the best product or customer with the best agent are the two things where the biggest opportunity is, at least from a customer point of view.
Thank you for that, Christopher. And Parul, I guess it'd be great to hear your perspective on the interesting and non-conventional of AI within insurance, perhaps looking at another perspective outside of the broker perspective.
So within what we see today is, and this is very pertinent to what's happening today, is that the healthcare costs within Europe are exploding. That's because of aging population. People have multiple chronic disease to manage. Up to 70% of public health budgets in many developed countries are eaten up by chronic health disease management. Now, you would ask, what does insurance have to do with it? Insurance within many European countries where there is a social safety net is a top-up mechanism. There is a mandatory insurance that is provisioned. So when the cost of managing illness or chronic disease with which many individuals who are living much longer are there is an increased emphasis on how can the AI be used such that the cost of administration of efficient healthcare journeys can be reduced. This is where a lot of health insurers are, through investments and also working with health services companies, working on disease management. How do you triage to a correct diagnosis so that people don't have many misdiagnose disease and go through many treatments which are completely wasteful because you've misdiagnosed. So there is increased usage of symptom checkers, clinical decision support, which are being integrated into healthcare journey of a health insurer. So when you go to a health insurer, these would be the front end where they would check based on your symptoms, what could be the potential illnesses that you could have, so that they can direct you to the right kind of providers. And within the providers itself, how do you yourself look after your conditions? When you're pre-operate, say you, God forbid, you have a condition which requires a surgery, how do you take care of yourself? Pre-operative, peri-operative, and post-operative, because if you don't manage the conditions well through monitoring yourself, you can exacerbate, and that adds to the healthcare costs as well. So there is an increasing emphasis where governments and health insurers align is how do we reduce the wasteful health expenditure so that health expenditure can be made available to all. It doesn't become exclusive territory of super rich like it has become in US, that we are able to afford it. So there is, I think there is a great deal of work that health insurers and public health services in Europe are doing, which is highly commendable in my mind.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think AI is this big buzzword, and you know, I co-founded an AI company, so I really understand the challenges and issues involved in that. I mean, from a insurance perspective, what are the challenges of using, I'll say, real world AI and data, especially in light of the new AI guidance from an ethics perspective? It'd be great if you can start, Parul.
So the European Commission has looked at how in the global context, many countries today are saying that we are going to turbocharge AI development. We are going to make everything run through AI. And there's potentially high risk to it because it threatens the fundamental rights of people. Let's look at within the perspective of health. There is, in the field of healthcare, issues of threat to privacy, safety, and autonomy. And this is not just the fact that we are moving into in some instances we have COVID being tracked through tracking capabilities. In many countries, they have facial recognition tracking people. This raises really deep-rooted issues around: is this the right data collection? Where is this stored? There is a question of consent. Did I consent to the use that you put the AI into? So there is a clause which, very interestingly, Oxford Institute of Internet has come up with: right to reasonable interpretation. What are you are collecting data about me, but how are you using it? I cannot today determine that you have not used my data in a way which is detrimental, which may not be the right thing anyway, because you have collected a data set which might be a biased data set. You see this in medicine, where you have unintentional injustices happening, where people who have poor health conditions because they are poor, have chronic diseases because they are poor, are being left out of treatment because the chances of them getting well are less. So when you automate certain things, you really need to make sure that you are really adhering to the principles of bioethics, adhering to the principle of safety, adhering to the principle of right justice to the people. So there is a huge amount of thought being put in insurance industries and worldwide. If you automate all decision-making to such a large degree, what kind of injustices are you perpetrating, or what kind of concerns around consent and privacy are you perpetrating within the society? So that's some really, really challenging things that we all are grappling with today.
Sure, thank you. And then very quickly, Christopher, what are the challenges of using AI and data within insurance that you're seeing?
So, I mean, let's say first, it's the best situation, right? It's a virtual product already. Data plays a vital role in this industry already. Like if you look from a helicopter perspective, it actually is the perfect situation, right? To use AI in insurance compared to other industries. It's really well prepared for that. You have a bit of a chicken neck problem because like the companies that have the know-how don't have the data and the other way around, right? So it's a bit like that. Where do you actually start? And there's a few other issues, like oftentimes the companies that have built a data pool over data lake over years and like have tons of customer data don't have it as available as you would actually like to have it, right? Because you have it in maybe you've grown via M&A and you have tons of different databases, so you can't really connect the data and make a good use of it. And for new entrants like us also, it's actually hard to to win the trust also from the consumer that you can start using such technologies and that you get an opt-in for certain types of data usage. It's like, as a new company, you don't get it that easily. And actually, I actually think, and that's a big difference to what other people in the market sometimes believe. I think that guidelines can actually help, and also regulation can actually help. Like I share data because I know there is data protection laws, right? And I think that you need a certain amount of regulation and standards so that the consumer starts trusting and is knowing that there's a certain limitation for what can be done and what is to be done with the data, and then people possibly start sharing more. So I think regulation is also seen in that light.
Fantastic. And I guess the follow-up question to that is a bonus question. Is given these challenges, what this is, you both highlighted these big challenges, right, in how we can how AI and data is used in insurance. What are the world-class examples that you're seeing of companies and startups that are trying to do this in an ethical way, if any?
So we have within health, I've seen a lot of startups who are starting with having ethical concerns first and foremost. Within health, there is a lot of pressure on: are you inclusive? Are you making healthcare accessible to many people? So many AI companies like Babylon Health, Ada Health, they are providing services to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're providing services to other large countries like Rwanda and to countries like Rwanda where the healthcare penetration is low. It's not just beneficial in terms of you're providing access to this service but you're also learning from the data of a new population, of the disease prevalence, disease incidents that are in another set of population. How do treatments occur, and how do people actually become better? So disease management. So there is a lot of effort in many new health tech AI companies in looking at 100% of the population, all of the population, and see whether the data that you're learning from is representative of the population. So I think this is a very interesting development, because previously when we lived in a corporate enterprise, we cornered everything into ESG. Now people with the pandemic are seeing how the global inequality is exacerbating, how certain countries are seeing a worse case of COVID deaths than others. Certain populations or poorer populations are seeing worst case of what can health tech do to alleviate this, to fix it. So they are now, as they build, not only through making things available, but learning through new population sets, making AI more robust and more representative.
Thank you for that, Christopher.
Yeah, no, I can only underline that. I couldn't add to the list of companies, but I think that among founders and young companies, the awareness and the consciousness has never been higher. It's actually it's incredible how that changed over the last years, and it's really a fundamental change. It's not about, oh, I need to add a page about ESG in my IPO filing, otherwise I will not get through, or I don't get the valuation that I need, or I want to tick boxes with investors or stuff like that. That's absolutely not the case. Like, people really care, so it's really important to contribute to society and contribute to equality. So I think that the consciousness among the founders is extremely high, and of course you see, like, where can I make a proof of concept, but people have the long-term vision in mind and really want to do something good with technology. So there I also see a very, very positive trend.
Fantastic. And then going into the bonus question round, I guess I think Parul, you touched on globalization there in terms of different countries have different needs. How are you seeing, from your vantage point, Parul, how do you think the needs of customers change from region to region? And then perhaps Christopher can share his view on that as well.
With the healthcare, drastically, because if you see healthcare provisioning itself, who is providing healthcare and who is funding the healthcare? So where will the insurance company play a part? That's different in different countries. And that means that each time insurer enters a healthcare market in one particular country, there are only limited sets of pillars that you can actually replicate. You cannot replicate the same model in another country. The other point is about human beings. The disease incidence, the behaviors are different. So if the prevalence and incidence of a particular disease is different, bringing a model from Germany to Egypt will not make sense. Or bringing a model from UK to Tanzania would not make sense. So you have to have a way of understanding what is the lay of the land in these countries, and then adapt. So that is a regionalization within the globalization context, which is very important for insurers. And to realize that there is a small to a large degree of customization that each country would require.
Cool, fantastic. Christopher, do you want to share your thoughts on that? If not, I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, if you take as a goal, for example, for our company to help people have peace of mind around insurance or general about their life, and to say, look, we're contributing to that because we're helping them get properly insured, then the how is extremely different from country to country, right? In Germany, for example, people have 6 or 7 different insurance products from 4 or 5 different carriers. Here it's about overview. Like, I'm stressed because I don't know if, like, I have so much stuff, but I actually don't know if I really have everything, or if something is missing, and might have done a mistake because I have a gap coverage, and exactly this one thing that I have not included is exactly the thing that happens to me. So people are worried about that. Whereas in other countries, obviously, it starts somewhere completely different, where people, we think in P&C life and health insurance products, for example, it's completely different in other countries, where they say, okay, look, I don't have a single insurance product. It's like, where should I start? Let alone thinking about retirement planning, because it's more about like, how do I plan my next month or something like this. So it's really, as Parul said, completely different country to country. And we are also, when we internationalize the product, we are starting from scratch in every country, and like really find out, okay, what's the point? Like, how can we help people in this country get better insured, and like, how can we give them peace of mind around insurance? And yeah, the journey to get there is completely different in every country.
Absolutely. And then just as we round up here, we have about 2 minutes to go. 1 minute to go. I mean, perhaps I can just add a couple of points from my end on the questions. So I think coming back to the globalization point. So at Prudina, the company that I co-founded, we had to expand a model in the US and in the UK, and in the automotive insurance space, there's a very completely different coverage of telematics versus the US. So I do agree with you, Parul and Christopher, on the importance of regionalizing and personalizing really your solution to each industry. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this session, learning from both Parul and Christopher. Really appreciate it, and I hope the audience enjoyed it as well.